The local car battery manufacturing industry faces imminent collapse due to lack of raw materials as a result of smuggling of lead into Uganda. Players in the industry are blaming officials from Ministry of Industry, Trade, and cooperatives of failing to act even as the illegal business continue to thrive across the border. The death knell may be ringing for the automotive battery manufacturing sector, but the ministry in charge may be asleep at the switch, said Guy Jack, managing director of Associated Battery Manufacturers, ABM. He said the ministry has not made any attempt to implement the scrap metal law which was enacted in 2015. This legislation, he said, was meant to support the retention of the raw material for value addition and provided stringent conditions under which exports of lead would be permitted. Strangely, he added, 3 years down the line the law has not been implemented. Numerous inquiries about the status of the Scrap Metal Act of 2015 have not been answered by the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Cooperatives, Jack said in a statement. Why would a ministry take 3 years to implement a law that is critical to safeguarding jobs for Kenyans and growing the manufacturing sector, he posed. Jack said ABM, the largest battery manufacturer in the region, has invested heavily in the last 4 years in the expectation that the government would strictly enforce the Scrap Metal Act. Lead smuggling is rampant in the border towns of Busia and Malava, a business which has gone on for the last 1 year unabated. Kenya Revenue Authority (KRA) personnel also have reportedly failed to arrest the culprits even as manufacturers continue to hurt. According to Jack, the country is facing a major shortage of raw materials because scrap metal dealers are exporting used batteries to Ugandan smelters who, in turn, export refined lead out of the East African Community (EAC) market. We are also aware of cases of exports of lead ingots camouflaged as elevator counterweights, he said. An ingot is a piece of relatively pure material, usually metal, that is cast into a shape suitable for further processing. This is a case where we export our manufacturing jobs, a vice which will ultimately result to closure of battery manufacturing in East Africa, Jack added. Recyclable lead. He said the country has a potential of growth in battery manufacturing, but sadly it was being critically hampered by the irregular and illegal handling of recyclable lead, the most economical source of raw material for the battery manufacturers anywhere in the world. There are 2 lead-acid battery manufacturers in the region, namely Associated Battery Manufacturers and Uganda Batteries Limited, both of which produce about 30% of the East African market requirement. The rest is imported from various other sources like Korea, India, Malaysia and Spain. The local manufacturers use locally acquired raw material from recycling spent lead-acid batteries, slabs. They acquire these materials through a process of collection of slabs from garages and homes by scrap metal dealers. Kenya, being the largest consumer of lead-acid batteries in the EAC, produces more than a third of the slabs but recycles only about a quarter. The rest disappears into illegal exports of the slabs into neighboring countries. In conformity with the Basel Convention, EAC has a legislation barring export of slabs, crude lead or refined lead as an attempt to curb illegal smelters, and cross-border, out of the EAC, transportation since they are considered hazardous waste. However, none of the EAC member state governments have enforced that policy. The major importers of the raw battery scrap material from EAC include Dubai, India, Korea, Malaysia, China, and Indonesia among others. This is a blow to the growth of the battery manufacturing sector in the East African community, whose consumption is estimated at 3 million batteries per year, while the capacity for production is only about 1 million batteries a year. Vision 2030 identifies flagship avenues to industrialization as value addition and expansion of manufacturing of household and consumer products as well as industrial and automotive spares. These can only happen through a deliberate and conscious approach to the protection of available raw materials and support for greater availability of low-cost energy. What has caused the delay to implement the law despite constant requests to the Ministry of Industry to act? Not even the appointment of Scrap Metal Council, which the law proposed, has been done, Jack said. He said there was no good economic reason for Kenyans to suffer joblessness by allowing exports of scrap batteries largely carried out by briefcase smelters. Vision 2030, it is important that a policy shift towards value addition of all our exports be made if we are to realize Vision 2030 goals or indeed the 4 pillars for growth announced by President Uhuru Kenyatta, the industrialist advised. The president identified the 4 as food security, affordable housing, manufacturing and inexpensive healthcare. In a detailed breakdown of his economic blueprint for the next 5 years, Uhuru cited job creation as one of his administration's priority. This, he explained, will be achieved through the expansion of the manufacturing industry. Kenya Association of Manufacturers says each year the sector contributes between 10 and 11% to gross domestic product.